The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation. Make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels. Operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants, as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, Douglas County Rural Fire Protection District Number 2, Oregon, on your new Pierce Fire apparatus, job number 37240. Please utilize this 5-digit job number when referencing your apparatus with Hughes Fire Equipment and Pierce Manufacturing. We'll get started on a brief orientation of your new apparatus. Starting just under the front bumper, you'll find 2 open-ended tow hooks. Moving up onto the face of the front bumper, you'll find dual air horns, one on the passenger and one on the driver's side. Moving just inside of that location on the passenger side, you'll find your electronic siren and PA speaker. As we move toward the center, you'll find the unit identifier plaque. Moving up onto the top of the bumper extension on the passenger side is where you'll find a swivel discharge. Moving toward the center, you'll find a D handle gains access into the hub storage location. As we move to the outer edge, you'll find a mechanical siren located on the top of the bumper. Moving on to the cab face, on the outer edge, you'll find your turn indicator marker light. Just inside that location, headlight structure housing low and high beam headlights. As we move just above that location, you'll find forward-facing emergency warning lights. And as we move toward the Pierce logo, directly behind is where you'll find the latch for gaining access into the hood area. Moving up to the windshield, you'll find 3 windshield wipers across the seamless one-piece windshield. Onto the outer edge, you'll find a mirror housing a flat and convex mirror. And then as we move up to the brow of the apparatus, you'll find 5 ID clearance lights. And then as we move up onto the roof on the passenger and driver side, you'll find spotlights. Just in front of that location, you'll find 3 floodlights, 1 located forward facing and then 2 on the passenger and driver side at a slight angle. Moving up to the roof area where you'll find your emergency warning light bar. Located with inside the light bar in the very center is where you'll find your Opticom. Let's take a look at some close-ups of the items we just talked about. On the side of the bumper extension is where you'll find a side-facing emergency warning light. Moving toward the center area, you'll find the D handle gains you access into the hose storage location in the center area. Let's take a look at the front discharge. It is foam capable. And then we'll take a look at the storage location, dry deck material in the lower portion. Back up to the Pierce logo is where you'll find directly behind the latch for gaining access into the hood area. Let's go ahead and take a look in that area. We'll first start on the passenger side where we'll find the fill location for your windshield wiper fluid. Moving over to the driver's side, you'll find the recovery coolant location. You'll also find on the rear wall a plaque indicating instructions for cab lift operations, and it's also a placard for danger. As we move to the yellow portion, this is the remote for the activation. And then as we move toward the red covered switch, this will be the identifier for either raise or lower. As we move to the opposite side, you'll find the power steering fluid. Let's go ahead and take a look at a full view of the side of the apparatus from the driver's perspective. And we'll move into the cab section, identify a few items here. First, starting with your front axle, where you'll find a visual sight gauge indicator in the center axle, steel wheel, and Goodyear tires. As we move to the front, this is that front bumper extension, side-facing emergency warning light. Easily accessible with a gloved hand, these are the door locks. They are also keyed. This is the latch for gaining access into the vehicle. You'll also find grab handles located at each door point opening, and then also just over the front axle, you'll find a side-facing emergency warning light. As we move just above that location, you'll find a side-facing scene light. Let's take a look at the front axle now, where you'll find that visual sight gauge indicator, Goodyear tire, and steel wheel. We'll go ahead and take a look just at the midsection of the bumper. We'll come back to this in great detail, but first let's move to the body section. At the lower portion, you'll find 2 folding wheel chock storage locations. Just in front of the rear axle, you'll find a side-facing marker light. There are 2 pan doors located here. The forward section will find SCBA bottle storage. Lift and turn latch gains you access into that space. Emergency warning light just over the rear axle. And as we move to the rear portion of the pan door, you'll find your DEF and ultra low sulfur diesel fill locations. As we move just up onto the very top of the body, you'll find side-facing floodlights. Let's go ahead and move around to the rear of the apparatus. Now we'll start with the top section where you'll find an emergency warning light, brake, turn, and reverse light. Just up from that location, we have a few switches located here for scene lights and also hose bed lights. Just above that, you'll find a rear-facing scene light. And then all the way up to the very top section, 360-degree emergency warning light. We do have some fold-down steps located here. There are one on the passenger side and then 3 additional on the driver's side. As we move toward the rear section, you'll also find a 2.5-inch rear discharge. And in the very center, you'll find your traffic advisor. Let's go ahead and move around to the passenger side of the vehicle, full view. Same configuration and layout, except for the ladder rack. As we move down from this location, full view of the body section, and then midsection will be next. We'll cover that in detail in a few moments. And as we move to the cab section, let's go ahead and move now from this location around to the driver's side where we'll gain access into the driver's space. First, let's start with the door panel. Affixed to the door panel, you'll find all of our safety and warning placard information. Just up from that location, you'll find the door lock and latch and electric window controls, and then a grab handle. Let's move down to the seat area where you'll find at the base of the pedestal is where you'll find when plugged into shoreline power, this is your auto charge indicator. You also have comfort controls for front to back. This is a manual handle. Then as we move just to the left, you'll find your master battery switch. It's the quarter turn silver switch. Close up here of the auto charge. Once again, when plugged into shoreline power, this will become active. At about the left foot of the operator, you'll find this manufactured by Pierce for your department information placard indicating the date of manufacture, 5-digit job number, gross vehicle weight rating, and cold tire inflation. The VIN number is also located on here. In addition, there are fluid capacities for the component, fluid capacity, and fluid type. As we move just up from that location, you'll find your engine, transmission, ABS diagnostic port, tech module, and display port. You'll also find ABS diagnostics, DPF regen, engine diagnostics, and engine regen inhibit. As we move to the dash on the left-hand side, you'll find your 4-way flashers or hazard lights, start and ignition switch. Just down from that, just to the right, you'll find a switch labeled EM, which stands for Emergency Master. This will engage or disengage all emergency lights with one switch. Next to that, headlight switch and also panel switch, brighten and dim lights within preview of the operator. Opposite side of the steering column, high idle indicator and OK indicator switch. As we move up, you'll find your transmission, oil, def level, and water temp gauge. On the right, you'll find front air, rear air, fuel, and volts. Located in the center, you'll find the tachometer and speedometer. Just above the 2 of those, you'll find diagnostic engine information that will display above with tally lights and also below the tachometer and speedometer. Let's move just to the right of this location where you'll find your yellow diamond. This is the pull to apply your system parking brake and push to release. Just to the right, you'll find your Allison transmission pad, digital readout, push button. You'll also find some additional switches located here. We'll cover those in just a moment. As we move to the very top section, you'll find the left and right mirror control. And then just beneath that location, you'll find your pump shift. Let's go ahead and take a look at those switches, starting first with the Allison transmission pad, and you'll find an informational note here to pump in drive. As we move to the right, you'll find your front scene, left scene, right scene, rear scene, load manager, and perimeter lighting. Below that, you'll find the engine brake on and off switch, settings for low, medium, and high for that engine brake, and also mirror heat. As we move just up from that location and slightly to the right, this is where you'll find your mirror control. This is for the left and right mirror. Just down from this location is your pump shift. You'll find instructions for operation from road to pump, and then also from pump to road. Just as a reminder, you'll need 2 green indicators, pump engaged and OK to pump, prior to exiting the cab illuminating. As we move up from this location toward the center, you'll find climate control for heat, air conditioning, and defrost. Let's go ahead and take a look overhead of the driver's space. I would like to point out this yellow placard on the far left-hand side. Let's first start with the height, 10 feet 1 inch, length 31 feet 9 inches, Gross vehicle weight rating 34,710 pounds. We do have the 5-digit job number located on this placard also. Just to the right, you'll find a set of switches. Let's go ahead and cover those next. First, starting with your emergency master, roof light, front warning, side warning, lower rear warning, upper rear warning, a future switch, and then also opticom. When any of these lights have been, or any of these switches have been activated, the light will illuminate green around the outer edge, as you can see here with the air horn. On the left is a siren brake, mechanical siren, air horn, and electric siren. Let's move further to the right where you'll find the siren control and PA speaker system. And then further to the right, you'll find your traffic advisor. Let's go ahead and take a look at the roof section just above the officer and driver seat where you'll find do not move your apparatus light when this is on. It's indicating you have a compartment or door open. You also find seatbelt information here, red indicating someone's in the seat and not belted, green they're in the seat and belted. Let's take a look behind the driver's seat where you'll find the manual cab lift handle, and then also when plugged into Shoreline Power you'll find this outlet is active. As we move toward the rear, you'll find 2 seats on the outer edge, non-SCBA, and then 2 rear-facing seats which happen to house SCBAs. Let's go ahead and go inside the rear section of the cab area. Let's first start with the door panel. Affixed to the panel, safety and warning placard information, door lock and latch, and window control. In the very center at the roofline area, this is your air conditioning unit. As we move toward the rear, you'll find SCBA seats rear-facing. There are 2, one on the passenger and one on the driver's side. As we move to the rear cab wall, you'll find 2 fold-down seats. These are non-SCBA compliant seats. As we move toward the rear, you'll find a compartment. Located in that compartment, LED lighting, and also you have Shoreline outlet and also 12-volt battery. As we move toward the rear section, you'll find lift and turn latch gains you access to the rear portion of the engine for your daily checks for oil and transmission. Let's go ahead and move now outside of the vehicle. We'll move to the pump panel area. We'll start at the very top section, forward. Let's first start with the 2 crosslays. We have crosslay 1 and crosslay 2. They are both foam capable. Just to the right of this location, you'll find backboard storage location. And then you'll also find below the crosslays a warning placard indicating entanglement hazard. Because those lines coming from aloft, there is the possibility of entanglement. As we move to the pump panel area, you'll find the blue module. This is your CAFS system. Moving further to the right, this is your foam system, and then also a foam level tank indicator. Moving further to the right, you'll find your master pump intake gauge. And then all the way to the very far right in this image, you'll find the master pump discharge gauge. As we move down on the pump panel, you'll find the black placard indicating here. This is your minimum operation maintenance schedule. We'll go over that in just a few moments. Also your Husky 12 foam system specifications and also instructions. All your color-coded and labeled discharges and gauges, in addition with your deluge discharge, which is a wheel valve. Moving to the right in the gray area, you'll find your pressure throttle governor. Right next to that is where you'll find an audible speaker. That the outer edge of that bezel does rotate, allowing you to dampen or brighten the sound. You'll also find if you've engaged your pump properly, the OK to pump light will be illuminating. Moving down from that location, you'll find the pump hour meter. And then just below that, you'll find the test gauge ports for vacuum and pressure. They're currently plugged and these are utilized for testing purposes. Just to the right, you'll find the tank fill and recirculating line. Moving further to the right, you'll find the engine cooler. This is a rotation, not a pull. As we move all the way down to the very bottom section, you'll find an electric valve. This is your tank to pump. Further to the right, you'll find a water tank level indicator. Moving further to the right, you'll find your fire pump primer, push to prime, air prime, with instructions for its practice of at least 1,000 RPMs for best practices. At the very bottom, warning regarding when climbing onto the vehicle, always face the vehicle. And then at the very bottom right, you'll find your manual pump shift. Let's move down and slightly to the left. This is your Shoreline inlet. To the right, you'll find 2 discharges. These are 2.5-inch discharges. Just below that, you'll find a warning. Only trained personnel should operate this piece of equipment, and that's only after they've received proper training. This is also the location of your 2.5-inch auxiliary inlet. It is locally controlled ball valve female. You'll also find the air inlet down at the very bottom left. This is your CAF's air outlet. And then further to the right, you'll find all of our color-coded and labeled discharge drains. Let's move slightly to the right of this location where you'll find your Pierce logo American flag eagle. This is your large diameter inlet. Moving to the right, you'll find your pump drain. And as we move down just below the large diameter inlet, you'll find a warning, pressure hazard, caps may be under pressure, be cautious when opening them. To the right, you'll find your wattress placard indicating the type of pump that you have. We'll go over that in just a moment. And further to the right, you'll find a warning placard indicating do not mix different brands or consistencies of foam for the possibility of foam failure. You'll also find the auxiliary foam function inlet outlet. Moving further down, you'll find your manifold drain and flush drain. Let's go back up to the placard for the wattress. This is going to be a pump model CS. This happens to be a capacity of 1,250 GPM. Let's go back to the minimum operation maintenance schedule for 150, 200, and 250 PSI. On the left is the associated GPM at that test pressure. On the right, the associated RPM. We also have a job number and also a governed speed while in pump mode of 2,400 RPMs. As we move to the very bottom, we do have a cutout section for additional hose storage, dry deck material, and also Velcro tie downs. Just underneath the running board, you'll find your foam pump intake drain and foam pump discharge drain. As we move up to the vertical wall near the step area, you'll find an access door here. Let's move around to the side compartments on the body section. We'll start with the first compartment. Dry deck material, adjustable shelving, and LED lighting. At the very top of this compartment, when plugged into shoreline power, these items will activate, which is your air compressor, and then also your battery charger. Let's move to the next compartment, which will be directly over the rear axle. As we look to the very top, you can see an SCBA pack, storage location, adjustable shelf. As we move into the front axle compartment here, you'll find SCBA bottle storage with retaining straps. As we move down, Goodyear tire and Alcoa wheel. As we move to the rear of the axle, you'll find the fill location for your ultra low sulfur diesel. It is the silver cap. And then as we reveal the top section, you'll find a 4.5 US gallon DEF tank. That's the blue cap. Let's move to the rear compartment next. Once again, adjustable shelving and also a pull-out tray. In the lower portion is where the release mechanism is located. Here is the shelf in its extended position. Let's take a look at all the compartments open on the driver's side. And we'll move around to the rear section of the apparatus. General view. Close-ups here of the cup switches for your rear scene lights and then also hose bed lights. We do have a few warning placards in this area. First, fall hazard, never ride on the vehicle while it is in motion. Next up, you'll find a warning placard indicating when climbing onto the vehicle, always face the vehicle while climbing on and off. And at the very top, pressure hazard indicating caps may be under pressure, be cautious when opening them. You'll also find some additional information here. This is the 2.5-inch rear discharge. It is foam capable. Above that, you'll find a warning regarding entanglement hazard. Because of the hose coming from aloft, there's the possibility of entanglement. As we move to the rear compartment, you'll find two pull-out trays. Releases are located on the right-hand side. Let's go ahead and move around to the passenger side of the vehicle, and we'll start with a few of these compartments. Once again, adjustable shelving. This compartment does have a lift and turn latch, gain access into this space. And then also at the very bottom section, you'll find a pull-out tray. Once again, release mechanism located on the lower right. Directly over the rear axle, to the rear of that location, you'll find your hydraulic reservoir for your hydraulic ladder. As we move up into the compartment itself, you'll find a tool board. There's storage on the front and back side, and also a shelf. Release mechanism located on the hinge side. Just in front of the rear axle, you'll find SCBA bottle storage for 3 bottles, retaining straps. Like to point out, extremely hot diesel exhaust temperatures do exist, especially during regen operations. Be cautious where you choose to park your vehicle. As we move into the next compartment, adjustable shelving and also LED lighting, dry deck material. We'll move to the pump section next. Just above that is where you'll find your storage location for your backboards. Same access and configuration as you have on the driver's side. Access to the rear portion of the pump panel area. Also, warning regarding when climbing onto the vehicle, always face the vehicle, same when you are climbing off. You will find your powered equipment rack module located here along with a danger placard and then also instructions for raising and lowering the equipment rack. Here's a close-up of that. Then we'll go ahead and take a look at some of the discharges located on this side. First, access door here. This is for gaining access into your relief valve. And then also you'll find American flag, Eagle, Pierce logo, large diameter pump inlet, 2.5-inch discharge. At the very bottom section, you'll find your primer drain and water strainer drain. Also a warning placard indicating pressure hazard. Caps may be under pressure. Be cautious when opening them. And as we move to the right, you'll find the auxiliary inlet on the passenger side. This is a 2.5 locally controlled ball valve. This is your relief valve. As we move to the very bottom section, all of our color-coded and labeled discharge drains. Just to point out, there are 2 discharges, 2.5 on this side also. Tub storage location, dry deck material on the bottom, and then also Velcro tie-downs. You'll also find a front discharge drain. This is at the rear section of the cab. And as we go inside the rear section of the cab, let's first start with the door panel. Affixed to the door panel, safety and warning placard information. Door lock and latch, electric window control, and a grab handle. General view of the overhead section area, you'll find push on and off white and red lens lights, your air conditioning unit, fold down seats on each the passenger and driver side, SCBA storage, and directly behind the officer seat you'll find an additional storage location here that's covered. This is for your unit radio. Let's move back to the exterior. Once again, front axle, visual sight gauge indicator, steel wheel, and Goodyear tire. As we move into the officer space or passenger area, you'll find affixed to the door panel, safety and warning placard information, door lock and latch, electric window control, and a grab handle. Let's move to the floor where you'll find your electronic siren foot pedal. As we move to about the knee location of the officer, you'll find your glove box. As we move up to the dash area, you'll find a gooseneck light. And then moving just to the left of the officer seat, you'll find a spotlight handheld, and then also 3 push button switches. Let's go over those. Siren brake for your mechanical siren, an air horn, and mechanical siren activate. This is the storage location for your light. As we look overhead of the officer seat, you'll find push on and off white or red lens light. Also a set of switches here. Front scene, left scene, right scene, and rear scene. You'll also find these red and white candy cane identifying placards. These are indicating that you have spare wiring behind this panel. It does offer the operator the option number and then also the intent of what that spare wire was intended for. As we move to the left of the officers, you'll find a AM/FM weather band radio. General view here of the entire side of the apparatus with all compartments open. Let's focus in on the ladder rack, which has been deployed. We have a 24-foot extension and a 14-foot roof. At the very top section, we have a 10-foot folding attic, ladder, and then also a pike pole. Let's go ahead and move now to the hose bed area after we complete the images here of the ladder rack. As we look to the hose bed, you'll find 3 hose bed dividers sectioning off the hose bed area. As we move to the dunnage area, you'll find your top fill water location. This is the water tank. Just to the right, you'll find top fill location for your foam tank. And then also you'll find your master stream device, which does have an extended gun, and then also this is your compressor for your CAFS system. Let's go back to the top fill for the water tank. Here's a close-up of that. And then as we move to the right-hand side in the dunnage area, you'll find your top fill for foam. Just a warning placard located here: do not mix different brands or consistencies of foam for the possibility of foam failure. Extend gun located on the master stream device. And then a close-up here of your CAFS system air compressor. Just forward of this location is where you'll find the cross lays. As we look to the upper portion of the cab area, you'll also find 2 warning placards indicating that this is a non-walking surface and is extremely slippery. Full view with the cab fully tilted forward. As we move just underneath the front, you'll find the tow hooks. These are the hooks intended for towing the vehicle. A few pictures here of the chassis and engine area. What I would like to point out in the next set of images, when you have fully engaged your cab to tilt, this is a safety bar that is put in place. Just as a reminder, do not lower the cab onto the safety bar. Also, as we move to the battery section, just below the battery area is where you'll find the jumper studs for positive and negative. The next set of images are going to be that of the chassis area, engine and transmission, pump area, and then also images around the lower section and rear section of the body. This should complete the images of the chassis, body, and frame area. We do have a short video with your emergency lights activated. Congratulations, Douglas County Rural Fire Protection District number 2, Oregon, on your new Pierce fire apparatus. Job number 37240. If you have any questions regarding your vehicle, please contact your Hughes Fire sales representative. Thank you and congratulations.